Absolutely. I'd love to have done certain things over, but you can't. You can't. But that's true in life. I'd love to have done in life certain things over, I guess. And you would have too.
Give me one.
You would have loved not to have contributed to the Clinton Foundation, as an example. There are things.
I just had to show you that, folks. Just had to. Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. I want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link down there for anybody who wants to share some love. Every little bit is appreciated. And, of course, the StreamYard link is down there for anybody who wants to join the panel. We're going to go over vital data elements, the number in lieu of. I've spoken many times about 19 CFR 149.3 data elements. And the data elements that are given to for the state's vital statistics jurisdiction. That's the Bureau of Vital Statistics when you're born and enumerated through documentation. The enumeration is the establishment of a United States business known as a United States citizen pursuant to a resident status in one of the states. So we're going to take a look at a couple things first. I want to take a look at the etymology of vital. Etymology of vital. We see here, this is from Entom Online, like always. Late 14th century, of or manifesting life. Of or manifesting life. So the documentation itself is just merely evidence of life. But in that evidence, what it's doing is it's accounting for the various events throughout that life. And that is conveyed in personam, in person, through the name that is then enumerated. In order to incorporate it by reference into the public record, they have to give it a legal status. That's the only thing that's happened so far. Of or belonging to life, from vita, life, related to vivere, to live. Momente more, momente vivere. Remember you must die, remember you must live. To live, the sense of necessary or important. Import. Necessary, deemed resident status deemed necessary by the board. Resident presence deemed necessary by the board. The resident presence, so there can be a representation. Via the notion of essential to life, and that's just a notion of essential to life. The person itself is not essential to life. It is essential to commerce under common law. Aqua vitae. Aqua vitae. Early 15th century Latin, literally water of life. An alchemical term for unrefined alcohol, spirits. It was applied to brandy, whiskey, etc. from 1540s for the elements. See aqua, vital. Also see aqua. Compare whiskey. Also French, eau de vie, spirits, brandy. Literally water of life. Arbor vitae. Type of evergreen shrub, 1660s, name given by French physician and botanist Charles de Lecluse. Latin, literally, tree of life. See arbor plus vital, also used in late 18th century rogue slang as a cant word for penis. Interesting, huh? Critical, junior, ought. Ought. Something literally ever a wit. From ever, vital. Eternity. Decadence, meaning process of falling away from a better or more vital state. So the decadence is the manual existence. That is a process of falling away from a better or more vital spiritual state. More vital spiritual state. Formation, hormone, interesting, and that's not a in origin. It comes from Hippocrates to denote a vital principle. Capacity, dismal, insinuate. And we've got John with us tonight. How you doing tonight, John?
Doing good. Yeah, I think they can't contract with humans. That's why they set up the legal name. It's a translated human name, right? So now the next
Absolutely.
system comes in. Yeah, so now they have something to claw onto. One entity to another. Like we can't talk to a human.
Yep.
That's how I see it.
And under Title 45, public welfare. This is according to the Constitution, the preamble, where they provide national security, domestic welfare, or domestic tranquility, and general welfare. 45 CFR Part 46, protection of human subjects, coincidentally, John. So it says here, basic HHS policy for protection of human research subjects. It's a vital record for statistical, logistical purposes of supply and demand for the existence of life as a research project. And that's Health and Human Services. That's the estate. Remember, they created that legal fiction, and that's the estate. Anybody know what your estate is?
It's an appointment, right? Under the census. That's how I thought it started.
Well, that may be under their shit, but in reality, anybody's estate is merely your thoughts and concepts that you put into life that actually manifest.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
vital. They're vital to you. You're the
Right.
one that makes your own choices. That's what's vital. In those choices is where you give up those data elements that are being used against you. And it's all because they're doing a human research project. Additional protections for pregnant women, human fetuses, and neonates involved in research. Additional protections pertaining to biomedical and behavioral research involving prisoners as subjects. So don't tell me that the prisoners aren't being subjected to research. Research being the equivocal of experimentation, particularly when you're trying to change their behavior. You're using different things to influence them one way or another. Subpart C, additional protections pertaining, Subpart D, additional protection for children involved as subjects in research. What do you think foster care and the orphanages and things like that is all about? Remember, they talk about prisoners involving prisoners. That doesn't say anything about adult prisoners or minor prisoners, right? Now, what I want to point out here is 5 U.S.C. 301. That's the code departmental regulations under which is applicable to the Department of Defense. Has plain writing, as a requirement, and minimum birth registration requirements. So this gets its authority from that. Again, it's military, Department of Defense. That's who it's applicable to. Departmental regulations applicable to the Department of Defense, and they employ a Plain Writing Act, and under that, all of their laws, codes, and rules and regulations are supposed to be written in a plain language so the common man can understand. And in that, they also have the minimum birth registration requirements, which is about the enumeration at birth, the assignment of a social security number to a legal fiction, a presumption presented to the courts until properly rebutted. (5 U.S.C. 301). The next one we're going to look at is 19 CFR Part 149. This is where we have that 149.3 data elements, where we have shipments intended to be entered into the United States. And I'd like to know where that United States entry is because, of course, again, we're talking about various different jurisdictions, and this isn't really telling us which one, is it? And shipments intended to be delivered to a foreign trade zone. So if it's entered into the United States and it's going to be shipped to the intended foreign trade zone, so when it gets to that foreign trade zone, it's going to be an import there. So the United States is involved in both a entry, which is an import, and then an export. So they're playing both sides of the court. Just like I said, if you're a buyer, then you're a seller. And if you're a seller, you're a buyer. If you're a creditor, you're a debtor. If you're a debtor, you're a creditor. So let's look at this. Seller and buyer both. Seller, buyer, both. Name and address or last known, blah, blah, blah. A widely recognized commercially accepted identification number for this party may be provided in lieu of the name and address. A widely recognized commercially accepted identification number for this party may be provided in lieu of the name and address. Then it says importer of record number. Importer of record number. Foreign trade zone applicant identification number. You suppose that change of address for an address in a foreign trade zone, and you provided an applicant identification number, Internal Revenue Service number, employer identification number, social security number, or CBP assigned Customs and Border Protection, assigned number of the entity liable for payment of all duties and responsible for meeting all statutory and regulatory requirements incurred as a result of the importation. So you have to be subject to those codes. You have to be an official, an officer, or an agent of the federal, state, or municipality. See what you're doing? Upon giving them that number, you become liable. That's a liability number for the public side of the record. We go down here, and it says ship to party. Name and address, da-da-da-da. A widely recognized, commercially accepted identification number for this party may be provided in lieu of the name and address. So what if instead of you giving them the Social Security number, you give them a bond number from that bond that you put on special deposit at the local bank that issued a letter of credit containing that bond number, so that if you have any issues, you can come against the bond and not the man. See, the bond is already provided. Go ahead.
But we're already doing that in a sense, Keith. If the
Right,
Social
but we're
Security card itself could be a bond, and we're already giving them the numbers.
Right. And what it is that's a public liability by using the Social Security number. However, the number on the back is a pass-through number, and that's what we've proven on the stamps. That's directly related to the Postal Service. That's a routing number. And when you use that, instead of using words to direct it, saying deposit here, and then return the credits to the customer, it acts that in that manner. It passes through as, oh, well, it's already prepaid. Already prepaid. And that's what we're talking about. We're the ones that actually fund this, folks. We have to learn how to settle it. Those are two different terms. Financing something and funding something are two different terms. So when I bought the birth certificate for $25, I actually bought 3 of them. And they sent me a receipt and everything. So now I've got 3 birth certificates, and I bought them. You know, they each have their own value. And that's my consideration in the commercial end of things, to turn around and now, as holder in due course, enforce it for the full faith and credit, which is the unpaid balance of money or its equivalent. How can it be unpaid if it's already prepaid? How can it be unpaid if it's already prepaid? Again, I did the video on prepaid expenses, and then that was based on the idea that the postal office works on a fidelity bond, contract bonds, construction bonds. They're the main contractors in all of this. They're the main judicial account holder. The Judicial Office Department is an independent and neutral forum within the United States Postal Service, comprising of the judicial officer, the administrative law judge, and the Postal Service Board of Contract Appeals. We're going to look at the next one, and it's residence status of arriving persons. This is 148.2. General, persons arriving from foreign countries will be divided into 2 classes for custom purposes: residents of the United States returning from abroad, and all other persons hereinafter referred to as non-residents. Status as returning resident: citizens of the United States, or persons who have formerly resided in the United States, including American citizens who are residents of will be deemed residents of the United States returning from abroad within the meaning of resident as used in Chapter 98, Subchapter 4, Harmonized Tariff Schedule of the United States, 19 U.S.C. 1902. Harmonized Tariff Code Schedule, 19 U.S. Code 1202. Blank. The Harmonized Tariff Schedule of the United States is not published in the code. A current version of the Harmonized Tariff Schedule is maintained and published periodically by the United States International Trade Commission and is available at their website and for sale by the Superintendent of Documents, U.S. Government Publishing Office, Washington, D.C., 2004-02. Now, that's pretty helpful, huh, guys? In the absence of satisfactory evidence that they have established a home elsewhere, the residence of a minor child will be presumed to be the residence of the child's parents. See how slick that is? See, this is all about the children under a community care concern through foundling hospitals, wherein they adopt the children through documentation from mom and dad who agree to be the adoptive parents, fostering documentation to keep track of that resident and to train that resident up in a military employee fashion.
And administered in a U.S. territory.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the territorials. And we're going to take a look at that too. The next one I have, again, these are all customs things. It says temporary importation by residents arriving for short visits. A person claiming the status of non-resident upon arrival for a short visit in the United States. What if I want to visit one of the 50 states? See the distinct inconsistencies when you have certain knowledge? I don't want to enter the United States because I know the United States is located in Washington, D.C. Oh, well, here it means this. See, now by asking questions, you find out where they're getting their definitions. And if they can't point out their definitions, then they're screwed. They're incompetent.
Oh, Lord.
And there it references 19 U.S.C. 1202 again, in accordance with the following procedure. Before returning abroad, may import articles free of duty under subheadings da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Before returning abroad, may import articles free of duty. But you still have to have an importer filing. The person claiming the status shall agree to export all such articles upon his departure from the United States, except articles imported as gifts under subheading da-da-da-da, and articles consumed during his visit. When required to do so, the person claiming the status shall list all articles of substantial value which he is importing. That's a merchant term. See, an importer is for merchandise. If you're not importing merchandise, things that you plan on selling and buying, then it's private property. And again, that's your right of passage and portage with your belongings. It has nothing to do with merchandise. Or its electronic equivalent in duplicate. So it's saying you can provide a electronic record instead of a written record. Noting thereon the expected duration of visit, he shall present the completed form to the inspecting officer, who will initial both copies and return the duplicate to him. Upon his departure from the United States, again, we have to prove that we entered the United States, which is located in Washington, D.C. At the completion of his visit, the person, otherwise they have to explain that territorial jurisdiction that they're using. Special maritime territorial jurisdiction. A jurisdictional overlay. The person claiming the status of a non-resident shall present to a customs officer the duplicate copy of Customs Form 4455 or its electronic equivalent initialed by the inspecting officer, and the articles listed thereon shall be subject to the inspection. And if he decides not to return abroad, the person claiming the status shall immediately notify the director of the port of entry. The port director will advise him of the amount of duties and taxes due by reason of his failure to return abroad. The Lord shall preserve my going out and coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. And as I'm a stranger and sojourner with him in all of his lands that are not to be sold forever, I'm going to grant a redemption. We're allowed to do so. Send it to the Treasury for reissue of a new security or redemption. Simple directive, simple instruction. The next one we have is some set of definitions. 19 CFR 201.23, again, customs, and this is the Code of Federal Regulations instead of the U.S. Code. And it says the term individual means a citizen of the United States or an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence. The term maintain includes maintain, collect, use, or disseminate. Remember that maintenance thing we talked about in the earlier videos. The term record means any item, collection, or grouping of information about an individual that is maintained by the Commission, including but not limited to his or her education, financial transactions, medical history, and criminal or employment history, and that contains his or her name or the identifying number, symbol, or other identifying particular assigned to the individual. System of record means a group of any records under the control of the Commission from which information is retrieved by the name of the individual or by some identifying particular assigned to the individual. The Privacy Act officer refers to the Secretary, United States International Trade Commission. Commission means the United States International Trade Commission. Who better to tell if you're a foreigner or not? The next one we got, 8 U.S. Code 1101. This is for foreigners. And it says, as used in this chapter, the term alien means any person not a citizen or national of the United States. So let's go back and take a look at this one. The term individual means a citizen of the United States or an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence. How do you lawfully admit somebody for permanent residence on the land that they were fucking born on? You don't tell me where I can and cannot live. Again, Congress makes rules for the government. It only can tell where the government officials can and cannot live. And that would be, of course, relating to the Article 3 of the Constitution, wherein they shall be vested in quarters only by necessity, only through certain means, only with compensation, correlating to the Fifth Amendment, where they cannot take anybody's property but for military use, and it must be required first and then compensated for. Then the next one I got is that one I was talking about, application and permit for admission of merchandise. This is an importer security filing. Application on CBP Form 214 and permit merchandise may be admitted into the zone only upon application on a uniquely and sequentially numbered CBP Form 214. Application for foreign trade zone admission and or status designation. See, this is all being presumed. The status designation has never been determined. It's always been presumed and volunteered because nobody taught you any different, and you were indoctrinated to believe that you were in fact a resident of the state when in fact you're not. That you were a citizen of the United States when in fact you're not. You cannot be such things. Evidence of right to make entry. The applicant for admission shall submit with the application a document similar to that which would be required as evidence of the right to make entry for merchandise in customs territory under 141.11 or 141.12. This is the basic concept we're talking about, or I'm talking about when I'm speaking on the birth certificate, making a special deposit with a local banker as a trust instrument to provide a letter of credit to be collateralized with the surety bond of the municipality. Another one to be issued for the to collateralize a surety bond with the county, state, whoever needs one. And it's all in regards to merchandise here. See, that's the only reason you need this stuff. Application or permit for admission of merchandise. And if you're going to be buying and selling merchandise as a buyer and seller, instead of the third-party beneficiary shipped to that party, we're going to buy it for him. It's already prepaid. It's already said and done. Learn how to settle it by providing the right instruments that are already there. You have a vested interest in them. All you need to learn is how to use them. Not to commit fraud, but in interest of the United States and on account of the United States, so that no person shall be held liable for full acquittance and discharge for the person making the same. And I'm not doing this as an attempt to fraud. I'm doing this as an attempt to correct the records. And I believe, under my understanding, my comprehension of my research, this is exactly how it's supposed to work. This is all public stuff. We're not supposed to be doing this stuff. We're supposed to be presenting ourselves as a beneficiary. And if we are in some kind of public performance, say we do have a corporate little business, that is a public office. You have to understand that. That means just as a corporate entity, you need to learn what that Constitution is and how it protects the people that you may violate, as well as yourself. So let's take a look at the next one. I've got a few sitting up here. We're going to take a look at a few of these in 18 U.S. Code as it relates to this territorial jurisdiction and everything. Remember, we talked about the principal is the one that is obligated on the surety bond. That's your city officials and stuff. 18 U.S. Code 2 principles. Whoever commits an offense against the United States or aids, abets, counsels, commands, induces, or procures its commission is punishable as a principal. Whoever willfully causes an act to be done, which if directly performed by him or another would be an offense against the United States, is punishable as a principal. This is their special maritime territorial jurisdiction, spreading out across the land to all public officials. They're all principals. They're all obligated already under a surety bond, and we the people are the beneficiary. 18 U.S. Code 3, accessory after the fact. Whoever, knowing that an offense against the United States has been committed, receives, relieves, comforts, or assists the offender in or to hinder or prevent his apprehension, trial, or punishment is an accessory after the fact. So when I stood there and I showed the district attorney, assistant district attorney, documentation showing an unlawful conversion that somebody had committed a federal offense, and he refused to do it, that's accessory after the fact. I gave him law. First duty of law is legal notice. I gave him legal notice that there is a fraud, material evidence of a fraud on the document I have, and it cannot be dismissed. He is now accessory after the fact. Except as otherwise expressly provided by any act of Congress, an accessory after the fact shall be imprisoned not more than 1/2 the maximum term of imprisonment, or fined not more than 1/2 the maximum fine prescribed for the punishment of the principal, or both. Or if the principal is punishable by life imprisonment or death, the accessory shall be imprisoned not more than 15 years. So you can dole out some hefty penalties in some of these. Remember that. 18 U.S. Code 4. Misprision of felony. We went over this the other day. Whoever having knowledge of the actual commission of a felony, cognizable by a court of the United States, conceals and does not, as soon as possible, make known the same to some judge or other person in civil or military authority under the United States, not somebody in your state, not one of your cohorts, not somebody else in the same county, not somebody in the same courthouse, not your next door neighbor, of the United States, under the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. (18 U.S. Code 5), United States defined as used in this title in a territorial sense. So under the Criminal Code, Title 18 is Criminal Code, as used in this title in a territorial sense, includes all places and waters, continental or insular, subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, which is a corporate jurisdiction. Therefore, you must be a corporate entity. They're the ones working in the corporate capacity. They're the ones that have to have them corporate bonds, the contracts, the fidelity bonds, surety bonds, insurances. They're the contractors and agents, principals, agencies. They're the ones running the United States business. They're the ones that can call themselves United States citizens if they want. They're the ones that are deemed necessary by the board. 18 U.S. 6, department and agency defined. As used in this title, the term department means one of the executive departments enumerated in Section 1 of Title 5. Unless the context shows that such term was intended to describe the executive, legislative, or judicial branches of the government. The term agency includes any department, independent establishment, commission, administration, authority, board, or bureau of the United States, or any corporation in which the United States has a proprietary interest, so that conference of a nationality was a corporate gift of a United States business of which the United States has a proprietary interest. How dare the state use it against you? That's an internationally protected person under the American interest. They're supposed to protect the human rights. That law is uniform throughout all jurisdictions. Unless the context shows that such term was intended to be used in a more limited sense. In a more limited sense. How could it be in a more limited sense? It was a creation of the United States. Nobody else can limit it. It has full powers just as the United States does. (18 U.S.C. 7, special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States defined. Says the term special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States, as used in this title, includes the high seas or any other waters within the admiralty and maritime jurisdiction of the United States and out of the jurisdiction of any particular state, and any vessel belonging in whole or in part to the United States or any citizen thereof. So that's an entrance into the special maritime territorial jurisdiction, and therefore considered to have the same equal powers of contracting as the state. And therefore the consideration is, or presumption is, that you are a contractor and you're contracting with the state. Or to any corporation created by or under the laws of the United States, or of any state, territory, district, or possession thereof, when such vessel is within the admiralty maritime jurisdiction of the United States and out of the jurisdiction of any particular state. Was that ID in your wallet? Was that an ID that had the state's name on it and then had your name on it in a military style that you then put in your wallet and used for travel out of state? Any vessel registered, licensed, or enrolled under the laws of the United States and being on a voyage upon the waters of any of the Great Lakes or any of the waters connecting them, or upon the St. Lawrence River where the same constitutes the international boundary line. Any lands reserved or acquired for the use of the United States and under the exclusive or concurrent jurisdiction thereof, or any place purchased or otherwise acquired by the United States by consent of the legislator of the state in which the same shall be for the erection of a fort, magazine, arsenal, dockyard, or other needful building, such as them post offices under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, needful places and buildings. Inland marine installations. That's how they transfer the law of the high seas into the lands through the Postal Service. Any island, rock, or key containing deposits of guano which may, at the discretion of the President, be considered as appertaining to the United States. Any aircraft belonging in whole or in part to the United States or any citizen thereof or to any corporation created by or under the laws of the United States or any territory, district, And it goes on and tells you more. And you guys can read it. Residents in foreign states in the land appurtenant or ancillary thereto, irrespective of ownership, uses or used for the purposes of those missions or entities, or used by United States personnel assigned to those missions or entities. Respect to offenses committed by or against a national of the United States, as that term is used in Section 101 of the Immigration Nationality Act, 8 U.S.C. 101, 8 U.S.C. 1101. The premises of United States diplomatic, consular, military, or other United States government missions or entities in foreign states, including the buildings, parts of buildings, and land appurtenant or ancillary thereto, or used for purposes of those missions or entities, irrespective of their ownership. This is why I say everybody's got pretty much primarily the same obligation when it comes to moral standards as it goes across the land. See, we're supposed to be stewards of the land. Yeah, we're supposed to try to learn how to walk on water, but we're not stewards of the water. We can fish for fish, but that's about it. We're not really great stewards of the water. It's a shame we use it in the manner we do. Anyway, let's get on to the next one. 18 U.S. 8. We all know this one, obligation or other security of the United States. What's the next one? 18 U.S.C. 9, vessel of the United States defined. The term vessel of the United States as used in this title means a vessel belonging in whole or in part to the United States or any citizen thereof, or any corporation created by or under the laws of the United States or of any state, territory, district, or possession thereof. Interstate commerce and foreign commerce defined. Interstate commerce as used in this title includes commerce between one state, territory, possession, or the District of Columbia and another state, territory, possession, or the District of Columbia. The term foreign commerce as used in this title includes commerce with a foreign country. So again, I want to ask you, if the United States had to confer a nationality onto you, is that not self-admittance, material evidence that there is a foreign capacity there? Even if it was a true nation, if they have to gift you one, it's admittance that you weren't born under the nation, because that would mean you were already naturally born a national. See, that's the problem with this U.S. code. We're American nationals, not United States nationals. That's a false nationality.
Right. And why are they granting us a right to travel under 18 U.S.C. 1545 or 18 U.S.C. 242 and 241 keys? That's kind of strange too.
Yep. I agree. The next one, the term foreign government are used in this title except in sections 112, 879, 970, 1116, and 1201 includes any government, faction, or body of insurgents within a country with which the United States is at peace, irrespective of recognition by the United States. So all we have to do is give them notice. That's the problem. Like I've said all along, the states aren't communicating with the United States in the proper manner, and we need to do that. And we've got Jay Is with us. How you doing tonight, Jay? My apologies if you've been sitting there for a while.
Oh, I'm listening to you, bud. No worries. Thank you. Just looking at you on the TV.
So you guys understand what this means, right? You guys understanding when I say this government should already recognize that we're foreign simply by the conference of a nationality? Why would you need to confer a nationality upon somebody if they were naturally born here? That seems to me illogical and therefore unnecessary, yet that's what they placate as absolutely necessary. Are you a United States citizen is the most common question they ask. You a resident. What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, they're just setting up an agency so that they can lock up the credits and bust your ass on top of it.
And like I said, all it takes is a simple act of doing the same thing that they do. Oh, that looks similar. They're doing the same thing. They're performing the same functions. There you go. Presumption rides until you can rebut it. And that's why I quit signing. I quit signing 8 years ago until I could figure this out. And I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to improve as I go along. And I think I'm on the right track. Like I said, I got my first meeting with the mayor. It went very well. We had a meeting with the assistant district attorney. Didn't go quite as well, but still didn't go bad either. So it's just a matter of getting better and better at the logic communication with them. So, yes, every courthouse is a post office beforehand.
That's actually why I came up here in regards to the post. I know you have a pretty extensive understanding. It's my first time on the panel, obviously, but I was wondering if I could make a request and see if maybe if you already have, I don't know if you have a video on like some remedial understanding of the post office from your understanding, or if not, if somehow you could facilitate something, because I have a lot of questions and like I said, I have a very remedial understanding, and I just, if we could do like a Q&A sometime, or maybe if there was something already available, or if you could maybe put something together.
I've done it is an extensive portion of my research, and so much so that I've got a series out there of the reconciling the master trust account. It's 43 videos, all talking about reconciling that master trust account and how it works. And this is where the basis that I get that, it's the judicial office or department is a neutral and independent form within the Postal Service. And if you recognize that the Postal Service is the registered agent already of a known trust called the Global Postal Trust Services, and that's operated through the Universal Postal Union. And for the United States, there's a Postal Regulatory Commission that act as trustees or principals of that trust. And then they have the registered service agents, which are the actual trustees. So there's already a trustee there. Why is he not the one holding those international documents? Why is it the state that's holding them, or the county? I don't think they're the ones that are supposed to be holding them. I think that document was supposed to be transferred properly for its international recognition, and not just some local recognition.
You said you have a playlist that's already, is that playlist was on your channel? It's easy to find the playlist.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. How long do you think it is collectively between all the videos?
Oh, Well, it's at least a full 40-hour work week for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, each one of them, around an hour or so.
Does any of the content go back to like the origins of the post and like just
Um,
all the way
I
back
think
to the beginning? Like just
I think I might touch on it, but the important thing is that's the establishment point of any government, so you can put out your documents. If you want to be recognized by the rest of the world, you've got to man a post. That means you have to let the world know through legal notice that, hey, I'm creating a post so I can communicate back and forth. This is where you need to send it. Because I'm not a Canadian, I'm not a Mexican, I'm not a Puerto Rican. I live here. This is our post. And so we're going to establish a post here. And that's all we're doing on the private level is establishing our own post. Hey, you want to communicate with me? You communicate with me, but it's done through the proper trustee. Because this trustee thinks he's my boss. That ain't the way it works.
I'll definitely be diving into your playlist.
Yeah, it's quite extensive, so anytime you have any questions, feel free to ask.
I look forward to it.
My email is down in the details.
I found your channel a long time ago. It must have been like 2016 or so. I think your hair was like down your back, man.
Yeah,
it was a good while ago, and it's a topic that I dabble into now and again. But every time when I go back to it, I feel like I didn't really retain anything, and I'm always starting over.
Hey, that's a matter of pattern. That's a pattern of practice, like I spoke in the earlier. We have to put that in force, but we have to remember we have to make sure that our pattern of practice is a pattern of good practices, being careful to maintain good works. Yeah. These police officers aren't doing that. They're putting a pattern of practice to maintain a good paycheck.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. All right. Well, with that,
are you
anything
still,
else?
I saw one. I tuned in a couple weeks ago, and I seen you were doing some reviews of some audits. You still do that? That's what I really love that content, getting your perspective on what these guys are doing, and I would imagine that other people do as well.
Yeah,
are you still periodically doing that?
Well, that's one of the things that I'm going to move more into is actually doing my own. I'll call them audits, even though I don't like calling them audits, because I'd rather be the guy being considered the intermediary between the auditors and the public officials, because I think they're both doing things wrong. I think a lot of these auditors don't understand the law like I do, and that most of it is about the communication. And so when we learn how to communicate more appropriately according to the trust terms, and we're able to express that to them, they're going to slowly catch on and realize we mean business because we understand our position in the trust, and we're not the contractors, but we know how to come after you, the surety company for you. You keep violating us, and that's the problem. I think a lot of these people, they keep wanting to go to these courts. I'm telling you, folks, those are Article 1 courts. You have no business in there. You have an out-of-court settlement venue simply by giving consideration to a surety company and saying, hey, we're going to have a little investigation here, and I'm going to finance it. That's the contract. You're contracting to finance any investigations by giving a collateral instrument to their surety bond. And it's under the full faith and credit of the United States. My concept is you're supposed to special deposit it with a bank as a trustee so they can issue a letter of credit based on that certificate of deposit, special deposit with its private issue, private placement with a certain value to finance a contract or a bid or place a bid in a certain amount, and you get a certain amount of that back, but the rest of it sits there to finance things. So you're actually in agreement with the surety bond company so that if anything comes back on one of those officials, you finance their investigation and then they'll pay out.
Bit the process.
I think it's a matter of learning the contracts and being able to assert your own contract with them with a definitive bond under the full faith and credit of the United States as a business proposition that if you hurt the real man, here's the United States connection in their interest so you can go ahead and prosecute to the fullest extent of the federal law.
I think I missed the initial premise. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
I thought you were. I was. Go ahead.
If the state issues a birth certificate, and under the securities laws, as holder in due course, you have the right to enforce it, and there's a seal on there indicating interest of the United States, all you have to do is give notice to the United States that I have an obligation or other security of the United States, and here's its representative value that I'm going to issue to this surety company to back your obligation so that nobody commits 18 U.S.C. 241 and 242 against me.
Which was what? I'm sorry, Keith. I thought you were talking about auditing. Am I totally off the key here?
Well, that's the surety company is the one that's going to do the investigation. That's the auditing. They're going to do the investigation on what the activities of the officer or public servant was that created the violation that they now have to pay for. So if I give them a collateral bond in interest of them to go ahead and do that investigation, if it's required in the next year, if I get violated, here's a financing bond so that if anybody violates me in this community, you're their surety, you will investigate appropriately since I financed your investigation. See, I have a bond with the surety company now. Does that make sense?
Not as much as I would like it to, but you know, like I said, that's something I'm just getting back into. Were you still doing the reviews, like, you know, like giving the pros and cons of what some of these guys in the field are doing, particular auditors on the First Amendment aspect?
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Because we've got to remember, it's like Henry. I watched one of his videos today, and he does a great job. He's very.
Is that Freebird? Is that his name?
No, Henry. Henry used to be CY and Ty or whatever like that. His name's Henry.
I'm not familiar with that channel.
Hendry. Let me see if I can pull up his.
I was going to ask you, which auditors do you appreciate watching?
I watch a lot of them. I watch a lot of them.
I watch them, but to which one do you recommend though, versus which ones are just, you know, conversations?
Dude, I'm subscribed to over 250 channels.
Yeah,
it's kind of. I just got to say, right? I just got to say, use your own choice and go out there and start looking. You know, if you've got a good sense of what you're looking for, as far as knowing what between what's right and wrong, and being able to tell and discern for yourself, those that have really done their research, you should be able to see that in their language. And that's why I say Henry's one of my favorites, because he's able to stay calm, cool, and collective and get right to the point of things. He made some very good points. And it's sad to see people like him getting railroaded because they still don't understand how to go after the bond. So that's what my part in it as being an intermediary is, not so much to audit, but to let these people know, the people in the community, that I know how the bonds work, and I'm going to start teaching these people that have actual claims against you, start pressing them. Me, in the meantime, I got one. I want to set up a collateral situation with us so that that doesn't happen to me in the future too, showing that I understand how this works.
Hendry's the guy's name. That's not the channel name, right?
That I believe that's the channel name too. Yeah, Hendry.
Hendry.
Yep. CH&I Audits is what it used to be. Yep. CH&I Audits is a media outlet, and he's under Hendry now. So there's the link in the chat.
Okay, great.
And I'll put one in the back chat for you too, just in case. And again, remember, folks, it's about the priority principle is the knowledge. You can give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but if you teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. But still, the main principle is the knowledge being passed on from generation to generation, so that we never forget how to fish, as well as have a unique way through diversity of of forethinkers and greater thinkers as we grow and progress to come up with better ways of fishing. So it's the same thing with policing. We're going to come up with better ways of policing. The more we take on the aspect of policing ourselves, the less we have the aspect of others policing us. I urge you to give up that comfort and convenience of allowing them to do so. That's the problem. So you guys got anything else on the way out?
I like your logo. What is that? How does that pertain to? So you had
That is, yeah, that is Alpha Omega Phi. Let me Alpha Omega Phi, and then I am the post. I am the upright post here, and then you got the Alpha, the Omega, and then the Phi is the half O with the slash.
Mm.
So I am the center of it all as long as I bear my cross.
Ah. Is that something you saw, or is that something you
I created it.
intrigued? Yeah, that's what's up, man.
Yeah, it's got a personal representation to myself. As I said, you know, I am the post. Jeremiah 51:31. One post shall run to meet another, messenger to messenger, shewing unto the king of Babylon that the city is fallen at the other end. I am the post, and I will bear that cross. And the bearing of that cross is merely rightly dividing the word of truth, again referred to in the scripture. And this is a faithful saying that that thou constantly affirm, that he who believed in God be careful to maintain good works. These are good and profitable unto men. And that's my sole purpose in all of this. That's all I want to do, is be careful to maintain good works from now on, because I've stumbled through life like many of us. I've been a bitch ass motherfucker all my life. I've been a fucking fool, a dumbass. And it's time to grow up and start learning how to walk and make a good path for the younger generation so they can see it more clearly. That's all I'm trying to do. Yes, Jeremiah 51:31, sister. All right, we're gonna shut her down. Anything you got, John? Jay?
No.
Thanks for
Good
the
to go. Good
conversation,
show.
man.
You bet. Anytime.
I'll come back
Well,
around.
you bet. You're welcome anytime. And like I said, guys, I need your support. I need you up here. I need you bringing things so that I can find out where I'm not clarifying things, like I find out tonight. So Jay will take some time. Maybe you've got my email down there in details. Send me an email. Maybe we can do it through text. Maybe that'll be a better way of explaining it. Whatever. We got to try these different venues and learn how to communicate with each other more appropriately without getting upset because we don't understand or because I can't translate or whatever. Like I said many times, I can explain it to you, but I can't comprehend it for you. But I will do my best to help you do so, even if it takes third parties to come in and explain it from their view. You know, that's why I need other people up on the panel like John. John and I seem to click a lot. You know, right at the beginning of the video, he was speaking the same thing I was bringing up when that was about the human subjects. So we think a lot alike, but that's not always so. So that's the important aspect of overcoming our communication barriers. And again, that's all I'm trying to do. So,
Well, from a spectator, a viewer, subscriber, I really I'm very fond of when you critique stuff. You play a video and you pause the video and you chime in and give your perspective, pros or cons, let the video go, pause again.
Well, thank you.
And I think a lot of other people feel the same way, but I think that's a good lane for you. Just my 2 cents,
Well, and I have to do that a lot because I'll get sidetracked easy. So if I watch the whole video and then want to go back and make remarks, I find myself having to write a lot of notes where if I can do it, just stop point. I'm quick on my mind and I've already got it sewn in there that I already know what's right and wrong. And as soon as I catch it, I'm going to point it out. That's been a habit of mine.
I'd love to hear your perspective on that type of content. So, if you ever need content, you're more than qualified for that. So,
yep. Well, I will always continue to do those. Like I said, I've got 30 different profiles that are set up to do different things at this point. And one of them is going to be set up to do the insanity short clips. One will be set up to do those auditing reviews. One will be set up to do reviews on my own previous videos, various different things. So just keep watching.
Are those review channels coming in the future, or is a couple of those already available to sub to?
Yeah, well, right now as I'm doing these streams and learning how things work this past year, I've been doing, I'm able to stream to 3 different channels, and I'm using 4 channels to do so. And so at certain times I'll stream to El Perro, Keith Little, and Heckle-Bus. Other times I'll drop Keith Little and do Paul Jr. So it's 4 channels that I'm basically using right now, but I also have Wyrd Wyzard that I plan on bringing up again and start using as a regular channel on etymology and stuff like that. So, and then later on, I've got another one, your Big Dummy Corporation, and that's the one I want to put in, you know, all the different types of corporate laws and stuff like the Clearfield Doctrine and how the contracts work and stuff like that. And then I'll have another one for all the public officials and how the trust works, you know, so it'll be expansive, and there's a plethora of information out there. So hopefully by doing that, I'll be able to help other people understand it. Because right now, gathered up on my channels, I agree, it's kind of confusing and hard to understand. So hopefully once I can get it all categorized and set up, people will have an easier time going along. One set up.
A lot of us came up in the same public schooling, and, you know, have a lot of this stuff, you know, is nowhere in the curriculum.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you are making videos, I would just say, man, just try to go all the way back to the remedial level. You know, your remedial level and my remedial level is probably 2 different gauges, you know. So, like, you know,
yeah,
you know, to widen the audience. So to widen the audience, you may really need to go like really back to the basics, man, which might just make you yawn all day, but, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard to hop in on this moving train that you have, you know, when we want to catch in, and it takes a lot of devotion, but, you know, the train's way down the tracks. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's
that's why I urge a lot of people to try to sit back and unlearn a lot of the things they've learned and get back to concise English. I think that's the most important concept that we can grasp a hold of right now, is getting back to the concise English, so we can start understanding and seeing the different languages that are before us that prove there's something wrong. There's something wrong here. You'll learn how to see that immediately. So.
It was nice talking to you, bud. I appreciate it, man.
You bet. Anytime, brother. You got anything, John?
Nope. Good to go.
All right. Awesome, guys. Again, thank you. Appreciate it. Always appreciate the support, and appreciate if you'd hit the like, share, and subscribe button on there, down there on the way out. There's a PayPal link for anybody who wants to share some love. And you guys know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back or not. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you, and have a good night. Bye now.